certain instances, we hear phrases like, I'm under a lot of pressure right now, my family is pressuring me to be successful, or I work in an environment that creates high pressure. And from learning the ABCs, mastering math, from addition to division, studying for the final examination, the next thing you know, you're preparing for an important thing. You're preparing for a meeting, preparing for an activity, or preparing just to engage to other people. So hello everyone, my name is 𝗬𝗢𝗀𝘀𝘀𝘂𝗿, and I'm currently the 18th Chapter Youth Council President, and I'll be your host for this episode. I'd like to welcome you where you matter. The Youth Matter podcast is your Saturday time with the youth, where we hear the youth and the youth hears us. Aside from when you're currently streaming, you can also check out this podcast on all our other platforms. Make sure to watch it via Facebook Live and YouTube. The podcast episodes are also available in audio format, posted in Anchor and Spotify. The links to these streaming sites are shared along with this posting. So we appreciate it if you join in on the conversation through the comment section and share this podcast with the other youth as well. So in this first episode, diba? Actually, we are not just going to talk about the youth, but to talk about the general population, because our topic is somehow hindi lang siya for youth. And in this episode, we are joined by two amazing people. No, I know them since I was still volunteering, even years before, and both of them have, meron talaga silang kayang sabihin about our topic this afternoon. So, diba, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guests for this episode. We have Mr. Roy Crescent Linaw Jr., RNMN. He is the 11th Advisors League Officer Treasurer, and also the Ateneo de Davao University College Red Cross Youth Advisor. And Miss Jenny Ross Castillon, former Ateneo de Davao University 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃 President and future chemical engineer. Diba? Claim na natin yan. Diba? So, I've introduced briefly who our guests will be, but I would like to hear from them. Diba? Who is Sir Roy and who is Jenny, besides the credentials that I have mentioned earlier?
Okay, thank you for that introduction, Izu. Maybe I'll go first. As was mentioned earlier by Sir Izu, currently I'm the treasurer of the 11th Advisors League Officers. And since we're talking about pressure here, I'd like to add some of my responsibilities, not only here in the Philippine Red Cross. Currently, I'm also the Foundation Secretary of the House of Hope Foundation for Kids with Cancer, and ongoing I have several trainings online, abroad, locally, and of course internationally. And I'm also active member, a former officer of the Philippine Nurses Association Davao City chapter, also an active member with my colleagues at the national level of the Philippine Nurses Association, and I also hold some responsibilities, some positions in our university, in the Ateneo de Davao University. And also a busy nurse educator, a clinical instructor in the School of Nursing of Ateneo de Davao University.
Wow, grabe, parang ako yung nape-pressure, guys. Diba? Ito, dito magpapahuli. Diba? We have Miss Jenny Castillon.
Right, so hello everyone, I am Jenny. So what Izu said before, I was the president of the ADU College Red Cross Youth for 2 years. And I just recently graduated from the Ateneo with a bachelor's degree of chemical engineering. So right now, I am balancing off work and studying for our board exam, hopefully that it will push through. So with pressure, it's something I think many of us are experiencing, especially those for the fresh graduates, those who needed licenses before being allowed to work. So the pressure between waiting for the board exam and looking for a work is something that is, I think, really common right now. So,
wow.
Easy, back to you.
Ayan, di ba? So we have already given you hints on what will be this afternoon's topic. And did you know, guys, no, before tayo mag-proceed, actually the two of them, no, represented Ateneo de Davao University, diba, in our recent Red Cross Youth Excellence Awards, as finalists of the Outstanding Red Cross Youth Council. So, ayan, nevertheless, diba, that already proves their excellence. And ayan, for today's episode, actually, what we're going to talk about is pressure. Now, the episode's title is The Pressure's On. Okay? But before diving deeper into the topic, let me ask you, do you feel any pressure right now? No? Is someone being forced to say yes? Ayan. Were you forced to be guest this afternoon?
We were invited.
Okay, in my case, when I received the invite, just was it the other night, Izo?
Yes.
Yeah. When I received the invite, I definitely said yes. First and foremost, I'd like to impart my knowledge with regards to pressure, because as an educator, it's my responsibility not only to my current students, but as well as to the community itself, to our members of the CRCY, the CYC as well, and for all those listening, everybody who's listening, watching our podcast, our videos online, may everything that I have imparted or I have shared can be of help, especially nowadays that we are in COVID times. We are online. There are a lot of cases, especially among our adolescents, teenagers, with regards to the mental health, nag-i-increase ang mga suicidal tendencies, depression, and everything. Yes. So I hope I can share a bit of knowledge with regards to that.
That's for sure, and we are very thankful in having both of you, diba? So is pressure always bad? Diba? I think in reality, if we think about it, pressure is neither bad or good, but it's also either positive or negative. Depending on a group of people, your community or the environment that you're on, okay, that pressure will determine as well, diba? What will be the outcome? Will it be positive or will it be negative? So pressure is the psychological stress associated with expectations to perform well, diba? Kaya nga nape-pressure tayo, diba? In a situation, in a certain challenge or task, diba? Pressure can be real or perceived, and other individuals or entire groups can create pressure in someone. Meaning everyone can exert pressure and everyone can also feel pressure. Kaya to the youth and to the people listening us right now, it is normal to feel pressure, no matter what the circumstances are, right? And ayan, the first question I'd like to ask and to hear from both of you is, how do you recognize pressure in your life? No? Especially in the current situation. Yan.
Regina, would you...
Yeah, I'll go first. So for me, I recognize pressure as something a change in the environment. So if in our terms, in our technicalities, pressure is something that's forcing you out of your own environment. So pressure is something that would create change in you. It may be in the positive way, it will be in the negative way, but as we go through this podcast, we'll be able to see how pressure can really affect someone, especially now that we're just inside our homes. How can we it's very important for us to know that where we are pressured, what is pressuring us, in order to know how we can cope about it. So later we'll talk and we'll be able to see and thread through the topic, and maybe it would really help the people who are listening.
And right I hope now Miss Jenny will also impart some tips on how to handle pressure, diba? Sabi nga ni Jenny, pressure is something that forces us to go out of the environment that we normally experience, right? So if we experience something normally, diba, we are somehow comfortable in that situation. So basically, if you feel pressure, it's definitely 100%, no? Definitely na 100% pa na you are really outside your comfort zone. And that's not a bad thing actually, no? Kasi minsan yung nagbibigay ng mental health problems is that the youth cannot handle when they are not comfortable. when they are pushed outside of the comfort zone na nakasanayan nila. Diba? So, yan, that just means that you're pressured. Na nape-pressure ka given the circumstance, given the environment that you're on. Diba? So, it's actually not a bad thing because outside your comfort zone, diba, is actually growth. Do you agree? That's why if you're pressured, you're growing. Diba? And for Sir Roy, ayan, Sir Roy as a professional, diba? What is, how do you recognize pressure in your life as a professional?
As a professional, actually, what Gina said a while ago, it still applies with us as professionals. Okay? Pressure for me, and as a professional, it either can make or break you. Okay? Just like anybody else's. You have to put pressure, okay, in front of you, face it, and learn from it. Okay? And when you learn from it, it will make you grow. So, pressure actually makes people grow to be a better person. Okay, that is if you really can handle it well. You can be able to balance pressure, especially in the workplace. And there are those who cannot or who are not able to balance it. That would be coming out as a negative thing for them. That's why if these pressures, these things that add pressure in you, you should be able to handle it. If you are not able to handle it well, then you should, in the workplace especially, there are a lot of ways and means that they would be able to help you out, stress out this pressure thing. And there's such a thing as health and wellness among the institutions, in the workplace, and would help you balance it.
And so I totally agree with what Sir Roy have mentioned earlier, no, that pressure can either make you or break you. Diba? That's very true. And tama rin yung sinabi ni Sir Roy that pressure is actually not a battle that is fought by one person alone. Now, there are a lot of coping mechanisms, there are a lot of people that are willing to help you and to be with you in that experience. Na pag nape-pressure ka, mas maganda talaga yung may support system ka, 'di ba? In work, in your home, in school, diba? Methods of communication, either personal, tatawag, magchat-chat, or magte-text lang, that's already very important. No? And I would like to ask, can you share an instance in your life that you felt really pressured, no? To do something or to become someone, or no, para may any instance of pressure?
So, for me, as I grew up actually, I am treated as the eldest, and I helped my parents to be there for my 9 more siblings. So I needed to be someone who they can follow. So the pressure is there to be someone who is going to be a role model. Parang it's something so mainstream as being the eldest. The pressure really is there when your parents and the people around you would really expect you to be somewhat like the perfect person. So maybe that in that part, even when you're really young, yung pressure nandun na. So as we grow older, nandun yung challenge on how to cope up with it and how to make it something like a challenge to become better.
Yeah, I totally feel you, no? Kasi being the eldest is being the breadwinner of the family already, no? Pag-graduate mo, di ba, you're already given that responsibility. And even if you're not yet a graduate, given that you're eldest, kahit bata pa kayo, let's say grade school, pero ikaw na yung kuya or ate, syempre, you have the responsibility of protecting your siblings, diba, babantayan mo sila and all. But tama yun, being the eldest, having that responsibility is something that is difficult, diba? So if you're the eldest, mga nakikinig ngayon, diba, if you're the eldest, if you have that responsibility as well, diba, you can type a question or you can seek for advice in our segment later. So just message us or comment down below, diba? So how about you, Sir Roy? Can you share an instance in your life when you felt pressured?
Well, it's not just an instance of my life, but actually it's current. Okay, current. First and foremost, I have mentioned that I'm also a family man. Okay, so it really is a pressure for everybody, for all parents. Okay, it's a pressure if, let's say, how to be a good father, how to be a good parent. Okay, it really is a challenge raising kids. I know you'll be one sooner or later, and you will really feel that pressure. If you are doing it well with your kids, raising them to be very good children, and I know Gene is one good kid raised by his very good parents, and I also know that you are also, because seeing you here, okay, I'm very proud of your parents, seeing you here, that you are now leaders, and that's just one of those things that I would want my children, but I do not pressure them to be one, okay? Just let them be, okay? That's just one of the pressures that I'm going through right now. And another thing is, I didn't mention also that one of the responsibilities that I have in our university, I'm also an officer of the union and as well as the faculty club. So being one and seeing you as a leader, looking up to you by your co-workers, okay, with regards to their future as well as a faculty member, and especially nowadays that we are in the pandemic, a lot of workplaces have been dissolved.
Yes.
Some schools even, you know, that have closed down, and we're doing everything in our side as officers of the union, okay, and how to maintain and retain as much as possible all of our employees, help our colleagues. No? So again, those are just one of those pressures, okay, being an officer of the union.
Yes. Grabe, amazing. Hearing two sides, no, for all our listeners, it's amazing, and it's a privilege to hear the side of a daughter and the side of a parent, diba? That just means that everyone definitely feels pressure, no? Anak ka man or you're a parent right now, you have your own struggles na hindi naman natin basta-bastang pwede i-share sa iba, because again, it's internal struggles, and that's already considered as a pressure on your own, on yourself, diba? So if the task is very stressful, if the task is already very excessive, diba? Imagine lahat ng pinapagawa sa iyo is something that they expect you to really do, but sometimes we cannot perform everything, diba? Sometimes we cannot be the person that they expect us to be, and they cannot also expect the output to be the perfect output that they're expecting. So with that, what can you advise, diba? What can you advise to people who somehow di nila naabot yung level na ini-expect sa kanila? Yeah.
Okay, if I were to start, since I was given the topic then, okay, pressure, so I actually Googled it. Okay, Googled it. So I have several things. We have several things to consider. For example, what strategies can you handle? For example, if you face negative pressures in your life.
Yes.
Okay, so first and foremost, you have to pay attention to how you feel. Okay, no, if something doesn't feel right about the situation, then it probably isn't for you. Okay, even if your friends seem okay with that is going on, then that situation may not be for you. Okay, and as well as for pressures to be avoided or to be lessened, you have to really plan ahead.
Yes.
You really have to plan ahead. Okay, think about how you will respond in different situations, because there are situations wherein you will not be prepared. Oops, hala, ganito pala. No? Uy, bakit ganito? So you have to be flexible. Flexible. Okay, so plan what you can say or what you can do. If you happen to encounter a person or a situation that is pressuring you, then maybe talk to that person, let him know how you feel. You have to express it.
Communicate.
Communicate it, communicate talaga. And if example, kung sa case naman, like for example for the adolescents, okay, communicate with your parents. Okay, be open with your parents. Ang nangyayari kasi ngayon, there are a lot of kids ngayon, adolescents, who prefer talking to their virtual friends. We say virtual friends again because we're going virtual. Okay, there are even the dangers of going online, because there are a lot of scrupulous individuals taking advantage of, especially the youth, especially the adolescents online. No, na they do not know who these people are. Kaya maraming going into suicidal tendencies and so on and so forth because it so happened they asked the wrong person.
Napupush sila.
Napupush sila. So, it would be best thing talaga is parents pa rin. Talk to your parents and the right friends that you have.
Yes.
Right friends that you have. Right set of friends. If so happened that you have talked to your friend, but then again, ka-level nyo pa rin yan, ka-edad mo, may not have the thorough experience and so again, the parents still are the best persons for you to talk to. Okay?
Yes.
So, yes, totoo yan. Okay? Now, with regards to stressors naman sa workplace, okay? Track your stressors. Okay? Ibig sabihin, keep a journal of what you're doing. Okay? A week or two, identify which situations create the most stress. Okay? Then, if you cannot avoid it, then, of course, make possible steps on how to mitigate it.
Yes.
Okay? Na para ma-lessen yung stress niyan. Okay? Then again, plan ahead. Record your thoughts, feelings, information about the environment, including yung mga people or circumstances involved. Okay? And, of course, physical setting maybe. You know, physical setting can be very stressful. Okay? So, you also have to consider that one. If the physical setting cannot possibly be changed or arranged and so forth, prepare yourself talaga.
True.
Okay? Acceptance is very important, no? Especially that way. Okay? And if it so happen that you are talagang really stressed out, it would be best to maybe take a vacation, talk to your supervisor, no, that iwasan mo ang burnout.
Yes.
Okay? Kasi pag burnout ka na, problema yan talaga. Okay?
Yes.
No, talagang dapat iwasan yan. Give yourself a break. Okay? If in this case, like for example, nowadays, it would be very difficult for you to, or it would be impossible for you to have a vacation since it's quite dangerous. No? Dangerous in the sense that it's COVID time. You might get the virus itself. And it's quite expensive nowadays because, you know, plane fare is quite expensive. Why? Aside from the plane fare that you have, you might undergoing the RT-PCR or the swab test and so forth, which is quite costly. Okay? And when you go to another place, of course, baka kailangan ka pang i-quarantine. Talagang medyo mahal. Okay? So, the best thing for you to do is probably siguro enjoy with your family. If you're a family man, enjoy with your family. And as well as, huwag ka nang sumagot ng telepono paggabi. Okay? Huwag ka muna mag-check ng email unless talagang you are expecting something very important. Okay? No? Leave work as it is sa office hours.
Yes.
No?
Same goes sa classes, guys, no?
Mm-mm.
Though yung class setting kasi ngayon is very flexible to the point na sobrang na rin, 'di ba? Students tend to have an all-day schedule and sometimes nagiging 24 hours yung workload nila because tama yung sinabi ni Sir Roy that kailangan mag-plan ahead. No?
Yeah.
Sabi pa nga failing to plan is planning to fail. Di ba? And that also goes with our studies and with our work. Planning to study this time at this hour or to do your assignment this time or this hour will help you avoid that yung sinasabi ni Sir Roy na burnout.
Yeah, totoo yan, no? And as mentioned earlier, you have to really take time to recharge yourself.
Yes.
No, take time to recharge yourself and again, learn to relax. No, if possible, you can ask somebody or watch the YouTube how yoga is done.
Yeah.
No, or exercise.
Yeah.
Okay? No, if it's in the workplace, as mentioned earlier, talk to your supervisor if you need a break. Okay? And the most important thing is, balik natin yung sinabi natin kanina, get some support.
Right.
Okay? If you're a family man, you have your family, talk to your wife. Okay? Talk to your family, get some support. Or friends maybe, colleagues. No? Or if really talagang burnout, then talk to a professional. Okay? Somebody who knows how to handle this stress.
Okay, so to continue, no, how does pressure affect your mental health? Since yun yung topic natin ngayon, and that's what we're going to focus about. So, how does pressure affect someone's mental health, or yun, yung capability niya to think thoroughly, to decide on something?
Right. So, for yung effect ng pressure, most likely, if di maabot yung expectation, so sometimes, after the event has gone by, nandun pa rin yung parang guilt, and that you were not able to reach the expectation that was given to you. So sometimes it would parang when you're resting already, you're still thinking about it, what you may have done about it. So it may cause niyang overthinking. Sometimes it would really lead to parang hindi ka na makatulog because instead na you plan for this one, another thing happened. So yung parang the plans were not followed. So then as the pressure, yung may pressure build up, sometimes hindi ka na makatulog kasi you would feel na may times na you're feeling worthless already. You did not really reach that level of expectation that was given to you. So, and minsan you would really have difficulty in sleeping. And as we all know, sleep is very important for us to rest. So that's where pressure is already parang difficult to deal with when it's already in conflict with our resting time. So parang ganun siya it's really affecting how we think, how we rest, how we put our body to something back to normal.
Agree. Diba? It's somehow funny na it was another person who was expecting something from us. Sila yung nagbibigay, naglalagay talaga ng pressure. But in the very end, yung nag-apply talaga ng todo-todong pressure sa'yo is just yourself. No? And that's the hard thing about dealing with pressure. And that's why sometimes nag-lead to depression because yun, di niya na-handle ang pressure. And going back to what Sir Roy have said earlier, tama talaga na we should speak with our parents. No? But some youth right now, medyo nahihirapan kasi silang mag-communicate sa parents nila. That's very true even before the pandemic, di ba? Kasi there was also a time na nahirapan ako mag-communicate sa parents ko. That was a very hard time kasi I have plans in which hindi ko nagawa because again, I lack the information, the knowledge. Yeah, meron talagang tips and our parents really have things to say and to impart to us na sila lang rin nakakalam because they've experienced being one, being a parent. Yan, kausapin natin yung parents natin and tama yun, we need to talk with our peers as well. But be careful kung sino yung kakausapin mo. Diba?
Okay, pero I'd like to add to that, Izo, kasi as a parent, hindi naman lahat ng parents talagang may alam na, honestly. Okay? I would really say that. Dahil una, especially generation gap. Okay, generation gap. In the sense that, iba ang generation ngayon.
Yes.
Iba ang generation ngayon. There's what we call as, kung may parenting, may defense mechanisms, there's a new thing such as adulting. Okay, adulting. You have to consider that, and of course, as well as for you, especially the adolescents, should also consider that. There's such a thing as adulting, in which feeling ng ninyo, especially the young ones nowadays, that they know everything. Okay? But yun ang problema, that they know everything, and when it fails, dun, depression comes in. Okay? No, alamin dapat ng parents nito, i-guide nila ang mga anak nila. Okay? I-guide nila ang mga anak nila. And nasabi ko rin kanina na itong generation gap na to, maraming alam na ngayon ang mga bata. Maraming alam na rin ang sa generation ngayon na posibleng, indeed, it is true, experience is the best teachers, the best, best teacher, especially among parents. But you have to consider also there are some new updates, new thing with regards to what is happening currently.
Capability is not only in age. No?
Kaya nga, kailangan talagang there is an open communication between the kids and their parents.
Yan, for example, Sir Roy, you're a parent, di ba? Let's just say your kid is having a hard time right now, sobrang pressured niya, di ba? So to those listeners natin dyan who are also parents or who are the youth right now, how do you think the parent should approach to his or her child, di ba? In terms na pressured siya sa school or there are things na she or he is still afraid to talk about with you. So how do you think can a parent open up with that?
That's a very good question, Izo. No? Kasi there are a lot of parents, especially overprotective parents.
Yes.
Overprotective parents. Nang nangyayari, no? Maraming parents, marami akong kilalang parents. Sobrang overprotective nila when it comes to schoolwork. Minsan na nangyayari, tinutulungan na nila ang mga bata. Okay yung tutulungan, i-guide. Pero hindi yung ikaw ang gagawa para sa anak mo. Dahil nakikita mong nahihirapan, dahil nakikita mong walang tulog, sige iha, sige iyo, ako na lang gagawa nito. That's a very big mistake that you're doing as a parent. Okay? No? Siguro guidance. I-guide mo kung paano siguro gagawin, ano dapat gawin, ayun ka muna, or even the parent can even probably siguro if it's online, you can talk to the teacher. Okay? You can really talk to the teacher. As a teacher myself, and as a parent, and as a teacher, okay? May mga parents na who would reach out to me through email, through text, through messenger, and I would understand. Okay? The other students, the other parents may not know it, but yun nga, kailangan, you really have to reach out.
Yes.
The teachers are considered as 𝗀𝗍𝗲𝗀𝗃, yung 𝗀𝗍𝗲𝗀𝗃 or second teacher. Okay? Outside the home. And alam natin, di ba, kahit maliit na bata, mas paniniwalaan pa nga nila ang teacher kaysa parent. Di ba? Kaya you as a parent, you talk it out, you talk to their teacher, talk to your teacher, I mean to your kids' teacher, and ask for guidance as a parent as to, ma'am, ano pinakamagandang gawin natin ito? Ganito kasi ang ginagawa ng anak ko and mukhang stress na siya minsan, hindi siya naniniwala sa akin. Okay? Then you can hand in hand with the teacher, ask the teacher what's the best thing that should be done. Okay?
Yes.
And as a parent also, be very understanding to your kid. Okay? Kausapin mo. And makinig. Be very observant sa anak mo. Okay? With facial expressions, gestures, ganon. And not the usual thing na nakikita mo. If you feel that your kid is having a hard time coping up, talk to your kid. No? Anong problema, anak? Anong maitulong ko? Anong gusto mong mangyari?
That's nice.
No? Yan talaga ang mga bagay na dapat mong i-reach out sa mga anak mo. Huwag yung dapat kasi ganito, dapat kasi dito, dapat kasi ganito. Hindi. Kausapin mong anak mo kung anong dapat, kung anong feeling nila. Okay? No? Anong feel, especially nowadays, kids are very vocal. And if you're trying to hinder that, lalagyan mo ng pader yung communication na yan, hindi mo malalaman anong nasa loob nila. And later on, you would regret it as a parent that your kid already had, worst comes to worst, going to depression, and too much depression can lead to suicidal tendencies.
Yes. No? And that's very true. Kasi yung, sabi nga ni Sir Roy, di ba, there are types of parents. Meron yung parents na instead na i-guide nila, sinasabi pa nila parang sinasabi nila sa children nila na, mali ka, ganito dapat. Di ba? And one thing I've learned, a learning experience is the best learning experience is an experience that you yourself have done, no? Yung ikaw mismong naka-feel. So, tama yun, no? That for the parents listening right now, and for the youth, no? Let your parents guide you. Let your parents be there to assist you. But do not expect that your parents will do the task himself or herself, no? They love you in a way that they are giving time to you. That's already something that is, yun yung di nabibigay minsan ng parents sa youth ngayon, no? So, you're that's already very okay. And pag nagsasabi sila kung anong gagawin mo, just do it. No? Because at least, no, when you have done it, pag nagawa mo, then it's a good thing. Nag-bonding na kayo ng parents mo. No? Nagawa mo yung task, natutunan mo kung paano yung gawin, and you've communicated with your parents. Pag di naman nag-succeed, do not worry kasi hindi ka naman papagalitan ng parents mo.
Okay.
Diba?
Talking about success, you just mentioned that hindi naman nag-succeed. Like me, for instance, there are a lot of colleagues of mine, friends of mine, Roy, grabe ang schedule mo. you have this, you connected with this, you're following with the 𝗍𝗲𝗂𝗏 Foundation for Cancer, now thinking about how to generate funds. You're also a member of Adame. How do you balance that? Paano kung something fails? Sabi ko lang talaga is, first and foremost, you really have to plan. Kung may plan A, may plan B. If possible, may plan C ka pa. If it doesn't work, it really is not for you. Don't fret about it. No? Don't cry over spilled milk. Tapos na yan. Okay? Learn from your mistakes. And of course, plan ahead na naman as to what had happened. Okay? Ano yung mga pitfalls na nangyari so that you'll be able to move forward and, well, better pa ang magiging nangyari.
Yes.
No? So, accept failures and make those failures, no, as part of your success in the future.
Tama. So, now, for my next question, ganito lang, given that, na-mention natin kanina that being pressured is not something that can be handled alone, diba? Or being challenged is not something that is just for you, isang person lang. So, do you consider, no? Who do you consider as your support system in times na nape-pressure kayo? Yan, si Jenny. I'd like to ask Jenny, who does she consider, no, in being pressured right now, because na-mention niya that she is currently balancing reviewing for the boards and working, di ba? So, who is your support system?
So, the support system, in terms sa review, of course, my classmates, since they know what I'm also feeling, like, right now, we have no certainty yet that the board exam will push through. It will, but as we are reviewing, since we need to help each other, since we didn't really expect that we're going to do self-studying, although it's online, but it's still self-studying. So, there's something comforting about knowing that there is someone who could, because when we're face-to-face, madali lang sabihin na, ano answer nito, paano to gawin, just by the tap of our hands or something. But right now, sa online, we don't know if we're already bothering them, since they also have something, they're also doing something. And we don't know if they're just focusing on reviewing. So, for reviews, it would really be a classmates. But at home, since we are very many at home, it would be really comforting my parents and my siblings, especially my siblings, that when I'm taking a break, there are really times when I really go and hug with them. Yung parang, sometimes because my table is just near the table of my other siblings, sometimes taking a break, asking them na, do they need help or something, it's like taking a break from what I am in my own world and putting myself into the parang real world, the world around me. And especially my parents na, as at home, we really make it to a point to talk with our parents. And it's like a practice every meal time, breakfast, lunch, dinner, we really call everyone to the dining table.
Yes.
We don't parang it's like a practice ever since na when we're eating, we need to call the people, especially yung iba na may klase pa, that sometimes na hindi na sila makasama sa table. But dinner time, doon na talaga. We need to be at the table. Kasi doon talaga conversation flows naturally. Kahit na yung in the middle of eating, sometimes even the little children would really ask them, the whole family would talk. So,
It's a different feeling than ibang-iba talaga siya pag ikaw lang yung kumakain mag-isa kaysa sa kasama mo yung family mo. Diba? So, like me, my parents actually work abroad. So, yung time lang na magkakasama kami kumain is yung pag nag-vacation sila ng Davao City. And yan rin yung inaabangan ko every time they go home. It's not actually the times na lalabas kami, pupunta ng beach or magta-travel or what. It's actually the times na magkasama lang kami sa bahay. Diba? So, ayun, how about you, Sir Roy? Diba? Who do you consider as your support system?
First and foremost, pinaka-importante talaga is family. Family. And there are, of course, there are a lot of friends. Okay, you have lots of friends, but you have to maintain a circle of friends who you can trust. Okay, importante talaga yan. Because there are, especially in the workplace, indeed, your wife, in my case, my kids, are my support system. You can talk to them and so forth. But there are some instances in which, honestly, you cannot just tell your. It's more like a thing that should be maintained or talked about in the workplace. Okay? So, para hindi mo naman din binibigyan ng sobrang bigat din yung family mo, asawa mo. And you have to maintain, again, as much as possible, maintain a trusted circle of friends. If not trusted, well, actually, it's trusted also. Supervisor. Okay? And, again, ito, hindi ko nasabi at sasabihin ko, huwag kakalimutan humingi sa taas.
Yes,
Sa Diyos.
that's
Okay? No, prayers can really help you a lot. Okay? And it also reduces stress and pressure.
Kasi I've heard a lot of people, yung type of people na kahit sobrang burdened na, nababurnout na and all, pag nag-pray lang sila, parang, refresh.
Totoo yan.
No?
Totoo yan.
Kaya agad gawin lahat. No? Some people are like that. Some people are energized when they talk to their peers. Some people are energized when they reach out to their parents. Iba-iba talagang support system ng iba't ibang tao. And with that, diba, I'd also like to impart that this support system are also the same people who actually applies pressure. Yun yung na-realize ko. No? Pag pinipressure ka ng tao, huwag mong sabihin agad na, ay grabe, biniburden ako nito. Grabe, pinupush na ako nito. No? But that same person could be your support system as well. Because someone who pushes you to your limits or to a better, to an improvement of your own, is also the one who supports you in that growth and in that journey. So pag nape-pressure ka, may nagpe-pressure sa'yo, tama yan, Sir Roy. Pick the right circle of friends that you can trust. Kasi those people who trust each other are the same people who wants what's best for you.
At sasabihin talaga sa'yo directly anong negative,
Yes.
anong negative mo.
Yes.
No? Real people, real friends would tell you ano ang hindi tama sa'yo.
Correct. Tama. No? And, ayan, tama yan, Sir Roy, because people who tolerate you, are actually people who just,
Doesn't care about you.
correct. No? I've experienced a lot of instances na yung tinotolerate ako, or I've heard a lot of people as well na experience nila when they are tolerated to do something, na-enjoy nila yung moment. But, yung nangyayari after that moment, parang may regrets, may nangyari, nag-backlash yung decision niya that time, and it's something that we should consider, It's something that we should consider. Pressure is not something for you to live the moment. Kaya nahihirapan ka, diba? Nahihirapan tayo. Pressure is something that pulls you back. Kasi sabi nila, we are rubber bands. When we are pulled back, that's okay. Because the more that we are pulled back, pag nabitawan na tayo, ganun rin kalayo yung mapupuntahan natin. Same goes with pressure. If people pulls you back, but those same people also supports you, is also there for you, do not worry. So, yun, yung mga nagli-live for the moment na decisions, sometimes those decisions turn out bad. And that opens up this topic about peer pressure. So, peer pressure, di ba, is peer pressure is very prevalent in the youth. And actually, me and Jenny are substance abuse prevention education, peer educators or disseminators. Diba? We know about peer pressure. But for the listeners, for the parents, and for the youth, diba? Jenny, how does peer pressure affect someone in terms of his or her plans in doing something or in succeeding something?
So, in our case, like, we're still growing. It's something na we really are present in every outing of our friends. Yung lalabas na parang iyakan mo na ng parents mo para makalabas ka. And it's because it's something that we're like missing the moment if we're not there. Tapos marami pa tayo pagdating, by example, when we were having the face-to-face pa sa klase, by the time they go back, you don't know what really happened. So parang it's something na parang it's a gap between you and yung mga usual kasama mo. So that peer pressure is like that peer pressure na it's happening with your group of friends. Okay, parang you're going to find some outlet on how you're going to really push through na every labas you're there because you don't want to miss any moment.
Yes.
And me as an extrovert, parang ayoko na ako lang isa or something. But,
or may nami-miss out.
Oh, may nami-miss out. And that parang that missing out is really something na it puts burden also on you. Kasi when they're talking about something, you don't know when they're talking about their outing, parang hindi mo alam ano nangyari. You cannot relate. So there's really the gap. Sometimes that gap is really what's putting pressure on you kasi hindi mo alam the uncertainty. So yun din. How does it affect the youth? Parang yun. You want something to be within your level of knowledge. But when you're dealing with uncertainty, doon na you don't know how to deal with it.
Tama yun, no? Yung you want to be on you want to have something on the level of your knowledge. That's the right term, no? Because people tend to, yun nga, as one of the youth, as someone who experiences yan, mga laag na yan, no? Mga outing na yan, influences. Yung youth kasi, napagkakamalan nila ang influences as opportunities. Now, there's a difference of the two. An opportunity doesn't mean na kailangan mong ma-influensyahan. Now, you should discern and you should know what is an opportunity that is good for you or what is an opportunity that should be left alone or that should be decided. In peer pressure, no, yan minsan yung nagiging cloudy yung decision-making skills ng youth natin ngayon. Diba? Okay, so given that we have talked about peer pressure, I want to open up another type of pressure. Yun yung academic pressure. And I think the youth that are listening right now, yung na-experience talaga nila. Our guest is experiencing it, diba? Our teacher, diba, is also experiencing it. Kasi yung teachers natin yung constantly talaga nag-learn every day, diba? And given that we have someone na maraming responsibilities and yun, a professional teacher, an instructor, I would like to ask Sir Roy, what are your insights on what academic pressure really is?
Well, there's a big difference between pre-COVID and the COVID, especially nowadays that everything is, especially Ateneo in this case, in our university, it's full online. You might have, or the students might have thought of great pressure on their end. Actually, it really is of talagang sobrang pressure at the end of the teachers. Okay? Going online, worrying about internet connectivity, because there are times where in the teacher mawawala na lang bigla, no? Kasi the same with students, well, that is one thing that we cannot control.
True.
Okay? We really cannot control. Okay? That is the reason why also the teachers have to be prepared for their online modules. Okay? Because kung bigla na lang mapuputol, at least may nakaprepare na in our university, in our case. We have instructed our teachers, we have trained our teachers with regards to our learning modalities, no? Especially online, that we have to prepare our learning management system. In our case, there are different types of learning management system. We have Canvas, we have Blackboard. In our case, in our university, we use Moodle. Okay, so we ensure that our teachers may laman yung mga courses nila.
Yeah.
No, that if as much as possible, we limit synchronous activities, synchronous classes. Okay, we have to ensure that our courses are filled up for asynchronous sessions. Ibig sabihin, no need of meeting virtually. Okay, the students can click on their courses online. Okay, it has been set. The activities are there, the assignments are there, the quizzes are online. Lahat-lahat niyan, ipiprepare na yan. Okay? It really is very taxing the part of the teacher as well, honestly. Okay? Most especially na biglaan pa naman nangyari ito lahat. Okay?
Yeah.
But luckily, in our university, immediately we planned, we prepared, we set trainings for our teachers, okay, on how to go about on online teaching. But yun nga, hindi ba lahat? Hindi lahat ng teachers are really into, being very techy. Kaya maraming napipilitan bigla. Meron pa nga iba na tatawag pa minsan, maririnig mo sa mga sinasabi ng mga students mo, "Sir, may isang klase kami yung si teacher, tinawag pa yung nak, ano nga?" No? May mga ganon. But at the moment, okay, it's in place, and because of the trainings that we have introduced to our teachers, nagiging techy na rin sila. Minsan nga, makita ko pa nga, mas maganda pa yung ginawa nila sa modules nila, sa LMS nila kaysa sa akin. Very, kasi in our university, our teachers have gone through 4 weeks na training talaga online. No? Before kami nag-formally had our classes in our university. No? So, like example, for the second sem, starting second sem is November. From November to December, wala mo nang pasok, and the students were handled by parang development programs, ganon. But while the teachers are busy, okay, preparing the modules. Pag January na, saka pa nagsimula talaga ang formal instruction. Okay?
It's a really big shift, no? Lubos tusin natin. Biglang yung learning method
Sudden.
na nakasanayan for how many years, no? Biglang naging online, no? Your classroom became your computer, your laptop, or even your cell phones. It's all virtual. Nahihirapan tayo lahat. And I would just like to say to all our listeners, all of us are having a hard time. And hearing what Sir Roy have said, di ba? They have set measurements on how to deal with the situation, how to maximize the available tools. And ayun, as a former student, though hindi ko naman experience yung online setting natin ngayon, but seeing my sister, who is currently a college student right now, yung online na lahat, I think what we should do is to easily adapt to the situation. Let's not anymore blame the situation, blame the teachers, no? Some even blame the system na ina-apply nila. Pero I think we should just appreciate that there is something being done. No?
Move on talaga.
Yeah. And I know it's really hard. It's very hard to not see your classmates because it's the motivation of some students kung bakit sila pumupunta ng school. No? It's the motivation of students to be competitive, to really perform well in class, or to really enjoy learning. So, ayun, And yan nga, the situation is somehow difficult for everyone, for teachers, for students. I would just like to ask the both of you, what could be your advice? No? What could be your tips on how to turn this pressure that is somehow nafe-feel ng iba na nagiging burden na for them into a motivation? No? Into a motivation for their future, for their goals, or for, yun nga, in general, for succeeding your academic life.
But if I were to answer that, again, for my daughter who is in college right now, okay, taking up nursing, I really would tell them, not only to my daughter but to my students as well online, sabi ko, focus lang talaga at this is also for your future. Okay? What will you do next if after COVID, after this pandemic, and you haven't reached anything? Okay? No, lucky for you that you are still going to classes. Maraming hindi nakapagpasok. No? Una-una dahil wala silang capability of going online. Okay? Walang pera. Dahil una-una, they might have businesses but have closed because of this pandemic. Okay? No? Focus lang talaga, and with the support of your parents, with your friends, your classmates, even it's online, okay? Connect with your friends and your classmates. Okay? My daughter is talagang minsan kung sa Bisaya pa, o agik-ik. Narinig namin gano'n. Kasi kausap niya ang mga classmates niya, friends niya online. And we're very happy with that, no? Yung hearing, minsan kasi, syempre, lakas-lakas ng boses, malita kasi yung bahay. So, marinig namin, sige, tumatawa naman yung tapos, we're very happy. Kaya nga, it is very important connecting with your friends. No? And with regards to the pressure, by the way, again, yung sa mga students natin, explain lang talaga sa kanila and tell them to balance things. At ang marami sa mga estudyante ngayon na sinasagad ang pag-aaral sa gabi, anong oras na matutulog, no, alas 2, alas 3, tapos kinabukasan pagod. Kaya sabi ko nga, mas mabuti pa yung maagang matulog, gumising ng maaga para mas fresh ang mind. No? Unfortunately, there are many kids na baliktad yung ginagawa. They feel that they know better. Yun ang problema. Kailangan talaga ng communication between the parent, the teacher, and the student.
And health-wise, no? Health-wise, actually, it's better to really have enough rest when you're still young. Do not worry, because when you turn adults, that's also the time na matitake up yung some of your hours of sleep into work or into other matters. So, make the most of your age, your time right now na makatulog ng maayos. No? That's actually one way to relieve stress and to relieve some pressure that you feel. Diba?
Totoo yan, Iso.
So, how about you, Jenny? What are your tips, diba?
One thing that I really gave importance, late realization right now is the importance of scheduling and routine. Because before, although my schedule, but the schedule we're following is our class schedules.
Yes.
Tapos yung may extracurricular pa, may bigla ang mga meetings. So, before, I was not able to really establish a schedule, Monday, ganito, Tuesday, aside from my class schedules. But right now, it's very important to establish routine and to establish your own schedule. For me, it's really important that this hour, you're going to do this. You're going to time limit yourself, because that's also where you can measure your productivity.
Correct.
Because for me, since I am reviewing while working, I make it to a point that after I finish the needed articles for my work, I would need to leave the work there, then focus on studying. And right now, it's very parang difficult to schedule when you're having your phones near you while working, while studying, because social media is there. And
Tempting yan, tempting. Oh.
So, sometimes when you're studying, parang, ay, hindi ko ma-answer. Sige, Facebook muna, Twitter muna. Then, the thing about social media is, hindi mo alam na you're taking already too much time.
Yeah, exactly.
Parang, kakahawak mo lang ng phone, 1 hour na pala. So, sometimes it's really helpful for you to parang put a time limit on the things that you're doing. Kasi if you're just studying for the whole hour, it's really going to be taxing na to the point that you do not understand anything. So, hati-hati lang ng time.
Pag nakapag-schedule ka kasi, that actually does not only motivate you, but that also applies yung good pressure na kailangan within this time magawa ko yan. At the same time, it beats procrastination. No? Yung procrastination na yung di natin namamalayan na 1 hour na pala tayong nagsuscroll, 2 hours na pala tayong nagsuscroll, and I'm guilty of that. No? So, actually, one of the tips I can give right now for our students, you can set and maximize your phone. No? If you have an Android, you can use Google Calendar to set a daily schedule. No? Na mag-a-alarm, magre-remind anong kailangan mong gawin. Yan, in your iOS, you can also do that. No? So, let's maximize technology. And with that, what I can also suggest na to our listeners right now na pag nababurden kayo with the pressure you have right now, pag feel niyo na para saan pa tong ginagawa ko, no? Para saan ba?
Para saan ko?
Bakit ko pa to ginagawa? Ba't pa ako nagpapatuloy kung ganito, ganyan? So, two tips I can give you is first, it may sound cliche, but try to go back and find the reason on why you are doing it in the first place. Now, what's your reason on why you should study hard? What's your reason on why you should finish this, continue this? Kasi I've heard students that they are studying hard for their parents. They're studying hard for the dreams that they want to achieve. No? And if you're young right now, that's one thing that you should never forget. Kasi yung iba, because of depression, because of negative pressure, nakakalimutan nila that they are also dreams, they have also goals they want to achieve. And another thing, another tip is, if you don't, hindi mo na-determine kung bakit mo ito ginagawa, then just try to think, ano bang mangyayari pag nagawa ko to? Kesa sa anong mangyayari kung di ko to ginawa.
Exactly.
Sometimes, they will realize by themselves, no? Actually, I do this all of the time na magde-decide ako, I see that it's really beneficial for me to continue and do this. For me to pursue and do this. Rather than just relax, walang gagawin. Yeah. Because comfort is a dream killer, sabi nila. Comfort is not bad, it's not good. But it's true that sometimes when we get too comfortable, it's a dream killer. Kasi doon yung walang pressure. No? We're talking about pressure not as a bad thing, but as a good thing right now. So, we want to impart that, especially since we have youth struggling, the COVID pandemic, no? Their mental disorders na nade-develop through this pressure. And what I want for them to realize as well is when they're pressured, it's also helping them. Sometimes it's not just taxing, it's not just giving them a burden, but it's also therapeutic in a way that you get to know and determine, ano ba yung gusto ko? No? Why do I do this? Yan, kasi minsan yung iba, hindi sila nape-pressure kasi hindi naman nila alam anong mangyayari. Or hindi nila alam anong reward if he or she does this. Diba?
Saka Izo, may I interrupt? Okay, alam natin at nangyayari ito ngayon na there are those students na napilitang sa isang course dahil sa parents or dahil lang nagpaaral sa kanilang auntie nila dapat ito na course. Isa din dapat yan sa mga tinitingnan ng mga parents o sa mga kung sino nagpapaaral.
That's true.
No? Kasi pagdating ng panahon when they graduate, there's a very big possibility na hindi sila magiging successful, hindi nila gagamitin yung course na yun. Dahil ng una, hindi nga nila gusto yun. Okay? At nahihirapan ang estudyante mag-focus sa kanilang studies kasi, again, hindi nga nila gusto yun.
Yes.
So, Dapat alamin talaga kung ano yung gusto ng
Tama.
bata.
They should-
Kasi future yan nila.
Yes.
Yes, they should decide
Mm.
kung ano talaga yung career path
Mm-mm.
that the child wants, di ba?
Mm-mm.
Kasi, no, sabi pa nga nila, it's an old practice, no? It's an old practice na yung magsasabi sa'yo kung anong itetake mo na course is your parents.
Yes.
No, it's something that has been prevalent in the past years.
Yeah.
Yun talaga yung nangyayari. No? But right now, since, yun nga, na-mention ni Sir Roy that the generation right now is parang knowledgeable na rin, di ba? They have some things that they know that can also help their parents and can also help them determine the career path that they want to take. Then it's a must that we should listen. No, it's a must that we should listen. And for those naman na youth na nakikinig ngayon that they do not like their
The
course,
course.
pero they're already halfway there, no? Third year na, fourth year na, or even second year, or still first year. Do not worry, no? I feel you. Yan lang yung sasabihin ko. No, I feel you. But, one thing you should know, after graduating, no, it's still very important that you finish that. Because when you finish that, it doesn't mean yan lang rin naman yung gagawin mo sa buong buhay mo. No? Just think of it as your primary course or your primary
Yeah,
career.
exactly.
You can have a secondary career or even a third one.
Mm.
It doesn't mean na gumamit ka ng nurse ka na lang.
Actually, Izo, may mga cases na gano'n. May mga estudyante ang gano'n na nagtatanong, Sir, hindi ko gusto talaga itong course. Tapos, third year na.
Third year na.
O fourth year na yung iba. The same goes. Na advice ko talaga, again, sinabi ko noon na dapat kung follow your dream, supposedly, gano'n, no?
Yes.
Pero since you're at isang taon na lang, tapusin mo na lang muna.
Correct.
Tapusin mo na lang muna. Then, you decide, okay, that's what you mentioned, Izo, na hindi lang yan, kumbaga hanggang hindi dyan nagtatapos.
True.
Pwede mo pang, it might not necessarily be ulitin or what, and so forth. Make the most out of it at this moment. And maybe later, you can feel na, uy, oh pala, enjoy pala talaga. Pero kung hindi talaga, then,
Go explore.
explore.
Explore the world.
No?
Kasi yung iba, they decide, no? Minsan, nadadala sila sa emotion that they decide to, ayoko na itong i-continue. Let's say third year na or second year. So, it will just take 2 years more for you to graduate. No matter what you do, 2 years will still pass by. No? So, why not? No, why not tapusin mo na lang? It's something that is an achievement for not only you, it's also an achievement for your parents. And at the same time, it's not the end of the journey.
Yeah.
Di ba? Sabi pa nga, no? Professionals will always say it's just the start. Graduation is the start of the real world.
Yeah, true.
No? After graduating, after makapasa ng board exam, they will say to you that that's the start of the real world. That's the start of being a professional. And that doesn't mean na, no? That doesn't mean na hanggang dyan ka lang rin. Because I have co-workers, if the youth are thinking right now na, sarap ng graduate, no? Sarap na ng work. If you listen to people who are already working right now, they will also tell you na, sarap maging student.
Enjoy being a student.
Mag-aaral lang, may allowance, ganito, ganyan. Both have perks.
Yes.
So the best thing to do for both sides, professionals and students, is to just enjoy. No? Enjoy nyo na lang pagiging student and enjoy your profession na pinapractice mo ngayon. But at the same time, do not be contented if that's not what you want. No?
Tsaka Izo per experience, not just one, but quite number of students na, for example, they took nursing, third year na, kompleto na, isang taon na lang, then nag-shift. Then I asked, bakit ka nag-shift? Hindi daw talaga para sa kanilang nursing. I mean, their grades are good. Hindi sila bumabagsak. Their grades are good. Yun nga lang, napilitan lang, ganito. But after 10 years, nakita kami ulit. Nag-nursing. Syempre, hindi na yung old curriculum na siya. Bumalik sa first year. Sabi nga niya sa akin, Sir, sayang, no? Tinapos ko na lang sana noon. No? And had decided after graduation or after taking the board na should I pursue my dream, and so on and so forth. I could have finished it na lang sana noon. Hindi talaga sinabi nila sa akin. No? Kasi nasayang, bumalik sila sa uno.
Tama. And, ano naman, it's not all the time, no? For those who are listening, hindi naman all the time na pinupush talaga namin, tapusin nyo na lang. Because some individuals as well, na yung di naman na tinapos, then they explored another career path. Nag-succeed naman sila doon, they did well, no? That still occurs, no? So it applies variably to different people, no? So ang amin lang, if you cannot say that you've failed if you didn't do the best that you can do, no? And that's yan yung pressure. No, masasabi mo ginawa ko lahat kasi na-pressure ka ng todo, no? Ginawa mo lahat, you've done it, you maybe failed or you maybe succeeded. But when you accept pressure as something that will push you, no, masasabi mo na, it's still worth it, no? Yeah.
Then there are others na pagpasok mo for high school, you've done your research, your parents allowed you to choose your own course. Then pagdating ng first year, second year, you realize the course is not for it's parang passion mo yung course mo, but then after a few years, you realize na it's not what you want in the end. So, for me, my classmates know that first year, I introduced myself entering chemical engineering because I wanted to be a doctor. I've done my research, high school, is it possible to have that as a pre-med? I've done everything, all the research, but then, second year of being a chemical engineering student, it's really something that there are subjects that would really make you realize something. There are parang crisis ng iyong is it the right course for me? Then after I finished chemical engineering, during quarantine, I tried to look back. Parang it for me, it really felt like a failure for me na parang I wanted to become a doctor before, but right now, looking back, I was able to develop something na that's what I wanted now. So, looking back, I was handling different organizations, and that's where I really enjoyed managing resources, managing people. So, plus na yung chemical engineer that we're really taught how to manage resources. So, ngayon, managing people. So, it's like, parang, before, you say pressure yung mga people na who were just pushed to take this course, but also there is also pressure on people who realize something in the middle of their passion. Parang, they wanted something else pala after undergoing some experiences. So, try to enjoy the ride. And you'll know you'll discover something about yourself.
Yung realization is not something that is one time. It's not something in the beginning, it's not something in the end, it's something that happens along the journey, di ba? And ayan, actually we've talked about the different pressures, social media, academic, di ba? Family pressure, yun, yung career uncertainties. And right now, di ba? I would just like to ask you, in general, when we are pressured to do something, especially for our listeners right now, when we are pressured to do something, what are your tips for them to see kung okay ba yung pressure na yun? No? Is that valid for us? Is that something that I should take up on? No? Or is that something na I should avoid? And because not all pressures is something na dapat nire-receive lang natin, right? So, what can you give, no, as an advice to those people na nahihirapan to determine what type of pressure they'd like to accept, no?
Okay, with that, tips, no? First and foremost, you really have to prepare everything. Okay? You outweigh those negative from the positive results. Okay? And think about those you cannot say not achievable. Okay? So get rid of those. Okay? It's more like, wag yung suntok sa buwan. Okay? No? Ilapang mo lang kung anong kaya mo. Okay? Kung meron mang iba dyan, kung sa tingin mo kaya mo, okay, go with it. But if it doesn't work, then it's okay. Okay? Proceed. And if it is successful, then good. And another thing is, again, always pray. Ask for guidance. And as well as if you have mentors, also ask guidance from them.
True. Mentors are people, okay, for the listeners. Mentors are people that may not necessarily be older than you. They could be other people at your same age, but they've experienced things that you have experienced. Kasi when you seek out to those people, you're not seeking out to them to just talk. No? You're actually, para silang time machine eh. I consider mentors as time machine. Bakit? When you talk to mentors, they will already tell you what you need to do. That gives you, a tip, a big tip, na yun na yung gagawin mo. Hindi mo na gagawin yung ginawa nila dati na na-realize nilang hindi mag-work. Right? And, ayun, how about you, Jenny? What are your tips, especially for the youth in general and those still studying ngayon? No?
So, for the pressure, you need to know your limits.
Okay.
For us, it's kind of difficult to know our limits, especially those who wanted to really impress other people, because sometimes we don't respect our limits already, because we go over, because we wanted to really reach that expectation. Because the feeling that you get when you know that you reached that expectation that people did not really expect you to reach is something parang very fulfilling, but sometimes it's in the expense of yourself already. So that pressure really needs to be parang you need to know your limits, your boundaries on some things. There may be times that you really want to reach that expectation, but at the expense of your sleep, at the expense of your friends, at the expense of your family. So we need to accept that we have limitations also. So, minsan students, especially student leaders, we want to be parang the hero of everything. The hero complex that we need to be there every single time. But we need to accept that we have our own limitations. We need to learn how to limit ourselves. But that limitations must also be something na if you want, you can go over that limitation.
Okay.
Because sometimes limitation is like a challenge din.
Yeah.
Na that could also make you better. So it's really nice that you know how to control also your pressure.
True. And sa mga sinabi niyo, no, I think the very mga points na I'd like to mention is first yun, know your limitations. People expect things from you, but you should also expect something from yourself. Mag-expect ka kung anong kaya mong gawin, anong hindi mo kaya gawin. That's very true na there are some people, they sacrifice sleep, sacrifice time with their friends, time with their family. But for people who is doing that right now, na nasa-sacrifice yung mga ganyang bagay, no, try to assess if that's worth it in what you're doing right now. Kasi there are also times na we need to do those sacrifices rin naman. Diba? It's not something na, kasi nga, diba, sinasabi na natin that comfort, yung comfort kasi, yun yung hindi makakatulog ka na maayos, you'll get to communicate at any time, no? Comfort is not bad, but it's something that will be sacrificed in the early years, no, of your career as young people, no, as early professionals, as adolescents. It's something that will be sacrificed. And hearing you both, no, I'd like to bring this up, kahit saglit lang naman. Because it's already a topic na napapag-usapan ngayon. It's what they call toxic positivity. Yun yung chini-cheer up ka na, kaya mo talaga yan. Tapos, nagiging toxic na raw. What are your insights about that? Before we proceed to our next and final segment.
Okay, again, actually, na-mention na kanina ni Jimmy. Know your limitations. Kahit sabihin sa'yo na kaya mo yan, but if you feel na mukhang hindi eh. No? Pero, try mo lang. Yung
Yes.
sinabi ko rin kanina na kung it doesn't work out, accept it. Di ba? Ano lang, kasimple. Okay?
So, toxic positivity, right? Parang usually youth, because if they can, you can also. So, parang we need to really accept what we can do, and if we can improve more on ourselves. If kaya pa natin i-improve, then go. But if you're the sacrifice you're doing is already creating something inside you, like, because right now, especially COVID, nag-sudden shift ang ating environment. We're already in the box of our parang isolation tayo in the comforts of our home. We're already put into a box. Parang it's hard to know that you have your expectations na kailangan i-reach.
Yeah.
Then you need to be positive na kailangan mo siya ma-reach. Then you're already pressured inside with the isolation. Sometimes, baka pumutok ka lang kalit.
And
So,
that's where your support system comes in.
so it's
diba?
really, parang we need to really accept who we are.
Yeah.
Na that's,
Limitations natin.
hanggang dyan muna. But that limitation, parang hindi siya dapat din na hanggang dyan lang
Oo,
din.
Tama. That's correct.
For now, hanggang dyan lang. But maybe sometime in the future, you'll go
Yes.
open your wings.
Yung
there.
kakasabi ko
Tama yun.
kanina na may limitations, other than that, you have to have alternatives.
Correct. And tama yun. No, I like that na minsan kasi naiisip ng tao na hanggang dyan lang ako. No? Hanggang sa months have passed by, years have passed by, na-develop nila na hanggang dun lang talaga sila. No? Your younger self may not be able to do things like this and like that,
Yes.
but you're not yet sure if your future self can do that. Not unless your present self can
Do
also do something
something.
about it. No?
Yeah.
Tama
Tsaka,
yan.
at saka pag sobrang positive din naman, it's just like saying or answering a certain question. If you rate yourself from 1 to 10, how much would you
11.
rate it? If you would be asking me, how would I rate myself? I would say always 8. Okay? Because if you'd say 10, you're too perfect, there's no room for improvement.
Correct.
Diba?
Yeah.
You won't grow anymore. It's just like saying, hanggang dyan ka na lang. No. There's something more in you that you'd be able to improve yourself.
Correct. And, yun, no, for me kasi, toxic positivity, minsan kasi nami-misinterpret na rin ng youth ngayon. May nag-cheer up sa kanila, sinasabi na gano'n, toxic positivity. Sinasabi na, uy, kaya mo yan. Tapos bigla lang sasabihin, toxic positivity. No? We need to consider if nagawa mo ba lahat talaga. No? Have you done your plan A, your plan B, your plan C? So what Sir Roy have said earlier, before you can really say na, hindi ko talaga to kaya. Because if there were some alternatives na pwede mo namang gawin, but you haven't tried it out, just because you thought na, hanggang dito na lang ako, no? Then it's something that you should consider.
I would say na, for me it's not the right sentence or phrase na hindi ko kaya. Para sa akin, hindi kaya, I would replace it, this is not for me. Kasi hindi kaya. No? There might be something else nakaplano para sa akin.
Yeah. Ayun. No? And that's true. Because something that is, ganito for our listeners, pag may bagay na di binigay sa'yo, don't think of it as a loss.
Yeah.
Pag may bagay na di binigay sa'yo, that just means may ibang bagay na ibibigay sa'yo. Right? That the things that will, the failures, di ba, the rejections, the things that you weren't able to achieve, actually does not degrade you. It redirects you to what is really for you.
Yeah. And every door that closes, a window opens.
Tama. Di ba? Huwag tayong mag-alala, guys, no? And going back to pressure works that way. We are pressured so that we may be able to determine what's for us and what's not for us. But we will never know what's for us if we will not also try. Di ba? Because there are also some things na, ano rin naman it will be for us if we do well, no? If we also try it and we put our mind to it, no? But again, we need to consider all sides. Ayan.
Yes.
So, we'll be having a short break, okay? and hear us out on our advertisement. And on our next segment, we'll be having an advice segment in which we'll be reading concerns, questions, and also yung mga comments and mga nag-send sa amin ng questions nila with regards to our topic this afternoon.
The Youth Matter, a mental health awareness podcast, is composed of 3 episodes centered on mental health disorders, relationships, and pressure. We hope that our sincere effort and personal stories would remove the stigma around mental health conversations and intensify suicide prevention. This is brought to you by the Davao City Red Cross Youth and Health Services with the support of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent.
Since you already heard us and you have got to listen to our personal experiences and insights on this episode's topic, the pressure's on. It's finally time for our second segment, and that is our We Hear You podcast segment, in which we listen to your concerns and provide a subjective insight that we hope will help you in dealing with your situations. Given that you have already a lot of insight, so for this episode, I actually would just like to pick one, no? Because I think this one right here is something that we can really give our insights to, and this person needs, di ba? What we can advise and what tips we can give to him or to her. So, the code name of the sender is, so this is her, ayan, Miss Anita Man, no? So, Miss Anita Man, I hope you're listening right now. Let me read your message to us. So, hello, I just wanted to share a bit of my situation before asking advice. Ever since I was in pre-elementary until junior high school, I was the gifted student. Kaibaw mosayaw, alam kong sumayaw, kumanta, I know how to act, write essays, active in organizations, and I'm a consistent top in my class and everything else. It was when I entered senior high school that I began to realize na all the things I was good at was not my passion, and eventually I began losing my touch. I began comparing myself to other people, and unsay lang na-enjoy in life since focus ka, and the things that they've enjoyed in life, because I'm already so focused in my school ever since. It affected me so much that my ranking in our class dropped from the consistent first to right now the 10th, and my presence was lost in school activities, extracurricular activities, and now that I am in college, wala na talaga akong gana to work as hard as I did before. That's why right now my grades are just hanging on a thread, and my social life and family relationships are great. But my academics is right now, my academic joy has been lost already. So what advice can you give to someone like me who was once seen as the gifted one and now has lost their drive to work hard but wants to get her motivation back? Ayun. So I think let's start with Sir Roy. What is your advice for Miss Anita Man?
First and foremost, she has to weigh muna talaga. What are those things that made her drawback? What are yung mga drawbacks? Bakit nangyari sa kanya yun? No? Baka meron siyang na-miss out in life, meron siyang nawala siya sa track. No? Nawala siya sa track. Dapat tingnan niya, okay, kung saan yung kulang, okay, anong dapat niyang gawin next, and he or she, example, if there are other peoples or mentors or teachers maybe, follow up niya kung saan siya nagkulang, okay, and as well as maybe talk to her parents as well. Baka kulang pa lang ng guidance, no? Or there might be some instances wherein miscommunication between the family, no? May mga bagay kasing mga nangyaring ganun eh, no, na mga hindi pagkakaintindihan unconsciously, no? So dapat pag-usapan mo na ng kanyang parents, together with your parents, and it may be kaplansa na yan, no? Then her parents together with her maayos yan.
How about you, Miss Jen?
So from here, I think many would really relate themselves because, as what she said, in college she felt that nawala yung passion on academics and even on the extracurricular. So I think many would say, especially those who were really great achievers, elementary to high school, and maybe some parts of it would also, something affected was yung instruction of teachers shifted from, you could really see there's a difference from your high school teachers to your college professors. So maybe it's already good that she already knows something, that there's a problem that she's facing. And the next thing would be, since you know there's a problem, take a step back. We have weekends. If kaya, take your time away from social media, because giving yourself half a day to think of what happened before, you'll get to know why you did your extracurricular before, why you were so active, why you're really achieving, why you're excelling in your studies. So if you get to know the why, maybe you'll find your motivation there. Because sometimes we fast-paced masyado. We get to panic that we encounter the problem, then we panic because we don't know how to answer that problem. So maybe taking a step back, accept that there is something there. You get to know yourself na, because this person is a smart person. She knows how to process something, since she was able to know there's a problem. So she also know how to address with the right guidance. So sabi ni Sir Roy na talk to your parents, talk to your mentors on how to deal with this. Because sometimes ginakimkim natin that, especially that an achiever, we are expected to do everything by ourselves. So sometimes that pressure inside, it's gonna be something that's going to hinder you. So tama na sabi ni Sir Roy.
Follow up ko rin na
Sige,
follow up na sagot. Okay, sa mga sinabi ko rin kanina with regards to mentors, we're talking about grades here. Okay, she's not totally failing, but she's falling down from ranks. Okay, there are instances wherein even parents may not know it, even you doesn't know it. Remember 𝗬𝗢𝗨 window, it might be something that you don't know and others don't know as well. Okay, it's what happened to you. The best thing that you have to do is seek professional help. If you're in school, of course, that's the guidance office. Okay? That's their work, that's their forte. They will help you find out what the problem is. You will be undergoing some tests, okay? No, psychological tests and so forth. And thus, you will know at the end what really is happening to you and what's best thing for you to do, and to come up with possible solutions.
Okay, so that's nice tips, no, and advices from our guest. So to Miss Anita Man, ayan, what I can also advise to you is talk to people, no? Talk to people that you think what they do is what you also like to do, no? Kasi ito you've mentioned here that your academic joy is nawala, no? Nawala yung academic joy. So based on that statement itself, you like and you love being a top notcher or a high ranker, di ba? You like that one, no? But again, if things happen like that, and na-mention mo rin dito na you began comparing yourself to other people and what they have enjoyed, and you were there, you're studying hard, and you think that you have been missing a lot, let me just tell you that I was on the same boat as what you are experiencing right now. I was also the type, I'm not the really overachiever, but I was also someone who, my parents told me that I need to value studying. No? Huwag mo nang gumala. No? Let them enjoy. Because you will soon know that what you're doing right now is something that is beneficial for you. So, tama yun. You need to have a step back. Now that you've lost that academic joy, you need to bring that back, right? And since you know that that's the thing you've lost, you need to also know what can you do, no? What can you do na pwedeng makuha mo yun ulit? If the career path that you're taking right now is unsure ka kung is it really for you or not, then talk to people who have graduated and who is practicing that profession. Ask them, what are you doing right now? Diba? If you enjoy, if you hear them, if you enjoy what they are sharing to you, then that's a big plus already. But ask them, what struggles have you experienced? Because if they have the same struggles as you and they're enjoying right now, then definitely, that could be a solution na pwede mong consider. No? Because everyone is struggling right now. Miss Anita man, do not feel alone in this concern. There are a lot of youth experiencing what you're experiencing right now. There are a lot of youth that is unsure of their career path. There are a lot of achievers when they were elementary and high school that is right now struggling in their academics. No? And the very best answer to that is because those things are different. They have different levels of struggles. And that doesn't mean that you're struggling in one. Hayaan mo na lang na magsa-struggle ka. Diba? So, tama yun, Sir Roy. Seek for professional help. Talk to people. Talk to your parents. With Jenny rin naman, tama yung sinabi niya na with regards to being an achiever, have a step back. Okay, try to assess. You know, it's a very big help to just speak with yourself. No? Hindi naman yan pagiging baliw. No? Speak to yourself in a way na you try to determine ano ba talaga yung gusto mo. And with that, now Miss Anita man, if you're you still want to reach out to us, you can definitely reach out to us. Now, I think Sir Roy and Jenny is also open to talking to you if you're willing enough to talk to them as well. And ako naman, I'm very much willing. And with that, diba, that actually ends our advice segment. We have a lot of concerns na gusto nating basahin, but actually, it's much more appropriate on the next topics that we will be having for our other guests. So, ito lang yung iti-take up natin muna with regards to Miss Anita man. So, Miss Anita man, that's not just the advices that we can give and you can accept. No? There's still a lot of advices na pwedeng ma-impart sa'yo. And I hope that those tips that we have given is somehow of, maybe it's small or it's already a big help to you. But, nevertheless, thank you very much for opening up to us. Ayan. So, with that, di ba? For those who also want a piece of advice, you can share your concerns through the Google Form link shared along with this podcast on its caption and all our social media accounts as well. Again, we would like to remind you that whoever and wherever you are, we hear you.
Aside from this podcast series, we hope that you can also support another initiative of the organization, the Unity Virtual Run 2, a virtual running and fundraising event to support the multifarious humanitarian activities of the Philippine Red Cross Davao City Chapter. The registration period runs from February 14 to March 31. You can check out the details for this fundraiser through the link shared along with this posting.
You may be an adult coping with your family or work, a teenager sensitive to peer pressure, social approval and actions, or even a child dealing with their stages of growth right now. It seems you will face pressure wherever and whenever you are, no? And whatever you do as well. And with that being said, we are going to wrap up today's show, the first episode of Youth Matter Podcast. Once again, thank you Mr. Roy Linao and Miss Jenny Castillon for joining us in our first episode. It has been fun, no? It has been insightful. Actually, I've learned a lot of things as well. No, marami rin ako natutunan from you both. And it's very nice that we have two generations kumbaga, that can share their insights to us. Okay? So we really want to thank everyone as well for hearing us out and for allotting a moment of your precious time in listening and watching this episode. If there are matters that you'd like us to address in the show, especially stories or situations about relationships and mental health, feel free to share those or ask for advice through the Google form shared along with our postings. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our channel. Share our streaming links with your friends and family. Tune in to our upcoming episodes and maybe listen us. Diba? Not just once, not just twice, or diba? Just try to absorb yung mga advices na nabigay namin. Diba? And before we finally end this first episode of the Youth Matter podcast, we leave you with this quote from 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗁. Okay? So when we long for life without difficulties, remind us that oaks grow strong and contrary winds and diamonds are made under pressure. So thank you very much, everyone, and see you and hope you hear us out on our next episode.